Let's talk about Turkmenistan, an oil and gas-rich Central Asian republic, which is not in the headlines often enough. But beyond the gold statues and grand monuments of this less popular country lies a far darker reality. Hidden beneath the surface is a brutal crackdown, and at the receiving end of it are members of the LGBTQ community. Their so-called crime, engaging in same-sex relationships. In Turkmenistan, that's enough to land you behind bars, or worse, confined to psychiatric institutions. Now, the regime defends these actions, claiming that homosexuality goes against the traditional values of Turkmen people. But the question remains, is this really about values, or is it about control? Arslan is an example. He moved to the capital Ashgabat at the age of 18, where he discovered a small gay community and formed a secret relationship with a man. But 3 years later, he was arrested with about 10 other suspected homosexuals. He was beaten by the police and jailed for 2 years for sodomy at a closed-door hearing in January 2018. Arslan was not alone. Of the 72 men in his barracks, around 40 were there for their sexual orientations. But one day, the leader of the barracks, a known murderer, who was well known to be sleeping with lots of prisoners, turned his attention to him. He raped him repeatedly after plying with sedatives. Arslan complained, but up to no good. After his release, Arslan tried to start from scratch, rebuild his life. But the stigma was overwhelming. People recognized him, threatened him, yelled at him in the streets. Twice he was sent to a psychiatric unit after being arrested again in 2021 and 2022. They wanted to, what they claim, cure him, because according to them, he had a disease. This is just one of the many testimonies, all supported by official documents and confirmed by NGOs. And there are many like Arslan. Let's talk about David Omarov. His life turned upside down in 2019 when he was summoned by the security service during one of the many crackdowns on LGBTQ people. He was held for several days and tortured to give the names of other men. He was 29 years of age and has been HIV positive since he was a teenager. They knew it, so they hit him with gloves and kicked him to avoid touching his blood. His screams went unheard. Describing this ordeal, Omarov said Turkmenistan justifies the persecution as a defense of its traditional values. Folk fascists. That's the term that he used for the government, which otherwise is secular, but has a huge emphasis on respect for Turkic folklore and traditions. Those in power are portrayed as the guardians of this culture, with personality cults which mirror those of Stalin or even North Korea's Kim Jong-un. There's deep fear in the LGBTQ community. Some escape but remain haunted by their experience. Emir, for example, whose love for pink clothes made him an easy target of slurs at a very young age. But he escaped Turkmenistan in 2018 after being granted a study visa for Russia. For many LGBTQ people fleeing former Soviet states, Russia was the first safe harbor. But that changed in 2022 after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. What was once a refuge became hostile ground. Emir then relocated with a plan to start over, but an HIV diagnosis shattered what little stability he had built. He lost his job and was threatened to be deported all the way back to Turkmenistan, a place where he says they'll abuse him and let him die because of his so-called perceived illness. To escape that fate, Emir needs to renew his old Turkmen passport. But there's a catch. Renewing it means going back to the regime, back to the surveillance, back to the prison he fled. For Arslan, for Omarov and for Emir, the crime wasn't what they did. It's simply who they are, who they love. For that, they were beaten, caged, silenced, told that they were sick, told that they didn't belong. Their stories aren't just rare glimpses behind a locked border. They're reminders of what happens when a regime decides whose lives are worth protecting and whose are worth destroying, all for ideology.